Hello, everyone, and welcome to podcast 9 3/4, a Potter podcast. I'm your host, the Half-Blood Princess. Today I'm going to talk about some disturbing Voldemort moments that the Harry Potter movies left out. But before we get started, if you love Harry Potter as much as I do, be sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Voldemort, aka Tom Marvolo Riddle, the Dark Lord, he who must not be named, you know who, and the heir of Slytherin, is a disturbed, ruthless, and complex guy. In J.K. Rowling's books, as well as the Harry Potter films based on her series, Voldemort is evil in every way. But if you think he's diabolical in the films, he's even more depraved in the books, which include lots of additional details about his background. Many of Voldemort's darkest moments throughout his life, both as a child and adult, aren't in the movies. Here are some disturbing Voldemort moments that were left out of the movies. Teenage Tom Riddle murdering his father and grandparents. When Tom Riddle is around 15 or 16 and still a student at Hogwarts, during a summer break he visits the town where his mother grew up, Little Hangleton, to learn more about his family. He meets his depraved and mentally unhinged uncle, Morfingaunt, his mother, Merope's brother, at the shack where they were raised by their father, Marvolo Riddle, and learns about his own Muggle father. Enraged to learn that he has Muggle blood, Tom Riddle goes to the mansion where his wealthy father lives and kills him, along with his Muggle grandparents. He then messes with Morfin's memory to make him think he was responsible, and Morfin ends up in Azkaban. Voldemort using the Cruciatus curse on Harry in the forest. In Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Harry gives himself up in the forest to Voldemort, who uses the Avada Kedavra curse on him. Harry then goes to this mysterious white misty place, what J.K. Rowling later called a kind of limbo between life and death state, to talk to Dumbledore, and ends up back in the forest laying on the ground where Voldemort thinks he's no longer alive. In the book, Voldemort revels in his accomplishments. Although he thinks Harry is dead, Voldemort uses the Cruciatus curse on him, cheering and taunting as he flips Harry's body 3 times into the air, just because he can. Dumbledore learning about the young Tom Riddle. In the film version of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Harry and Dumbledore take a trip back through the Pensieve to see Dumbledore's memory of Tom Riddle for the first time as a young boy at the London orphanage where he grew up. Mrs. Cole, who runs the orphanage, tells Dumbledore that Tom has done some nasty things, and Tom himself tells Dumbledore he can force animals to do what he wants and make bad things happen to people who hurt him. In the book, however, Mrs. Cole goes into more detail about Tom's nastiness, including his likely gruesome treatment of the pet. She says Tom said he didn't do it, but the pet couldn't have hung himself. She also refers to 2 fellow orphans who were never quite right after Tom took them to a cave on an outing. And this is probably the cave where Voldemort later hides the locket Horcrux, so like some of the other places he hides Horcruxes, it probably has significance to him for something terrible he might have done there. Voldemort's mother using a love potion. The films leave out much of Voldemort's backstory, including information about his mother, Merope Gaunt, and father, Tom Riddle Sr. Merope, a descendant of Salazar Slytherin, grew up poor in a filthy shack raised by a father and brother who harmed her physically and emotionally. She fell in love with Tom Riddle Sr., a handsome, wealthy Muggle she saw riding by her home, and gave him a love potion to make him become enchanted with and marry her. When she got pregnant, Merope likely stopped giving the potion in hopes that he might have truly grown to love her. Instead, Tom Riddle Sr. left her, and Merope died right after giving birth to her son. Voldemort then grew up in an orphanage where real love and attachment were absent, and he was the product of a false marriage. This backstory doesn't excuse Voldemort's actions, but at least partly explains why he became so evil and full of hate. Voldemort's stint at Borgin and Burke's. The films leave out much of what happened after Tom Riddle left Hogwarts when his schooling was finished. Although Riddle was an excellent student, he was a prefect, head boy, and the Hogwarts teachers thought he was well suited for a career at the Ministry of Magic, he ended up taking a job at Borgin and Burke's, the seedy shop in Knockturn Alley, filled with antique, dark magic objects. Riddle wasn't just a sales clerk, however. He was very adept at persuading rich, elderly wizards and witches to turn their artifacts over to the store. The handsome, smooth-talking Riddle, on a visit to the home of one witch, saw that she owned 2 objects formerly owned by the Hogwarts founders that he wanted for himself to create Horcruxes: Helga Hufflepuff's cup and Salazar Slytherin's locket. After obtaining both artifacts from the witch, he killed her and framed her house elf for the slaying. These are just a few of the times that show how evil Voldemort truly is. Do you think these Voldemort moments help explain why he is the way he is and should have made it into the movies? Comment your thoughts and opinion down below, and be sure to like and subscribe. Okay, love you. Bye.